going on, Paladins fans, and welcome to a brief overview for the patch, but also some developer comments on some of the work we're doing for CB24. In the last patch, we made some adjustments to the way the game mode functioned, but also adjusted some of the card structures. We had removed one of the specialty cards from most of the champions in the game and some of the supporting cards that went with that build in efforts to try and isolate and specify what champions do. We noticed there was a lot of clutter and lack of clarity when playing the game, and so players were complaining that they wouldn't understand exactly what a champion was doing when they were facing it. In attempts to remedy this, we decided to remove some of these specialty cards for certain characters and kind of hone in those specific builds. By doing so, we made sure that you had a clear identification of what build a character was going with. The feedback we received from this change was mostly that players felt that their personal experience when playing those characters wasn't as varied as it was before. In this patch, we're going to be adding back in additional specialty cards, one to start and see where we go from there, to make sure that characters have enough build varieties to make sure that you're having fun with that character and have enough options available to you. We'll also be adding in additional supporting cards for those builds to make sure there's some interplay between them. We will be maintaining the specialty card system to make sure that you are specifying a specific build, but also to solve a problem that we've had previously on the Paladins project, where you'd basically just pick a whole bunch of the strongest cards and make an optimal build. Overall, we're happy where Capture and Payload is sitting right now. We enjoy the difference in the gameplay that came from the old Siege to the new Capture and Payload. This allowed players to kind of come together and make an objective push with the payload cart, but also allows you to kind of reset, which is a system we never really had before in Paladins and something that we think fits really well. Also, the addition of the burn card system allows you to counter enemy players and enemy team strategies to make sure you can come back in the next round. It gives you that moment of rest to reset and come back. We're looking at how much defenders get when the payload push is successfully defended. That is when the enemy team does not push the payload cart all the way in. What we're looking at right now is making sure that you get a bonus of credits that allows you to come back in the next round by purchasing the right burn cards. We want this number to be significantly higher than the benefit you would get for capturing the point or successfully destroying the enemy team in a team fight. And that way, in the next round, you can purchase the right burn cards to counter strategies like destroying shields or getting extra damage or countering healing that allows you to get that comeback push to stay in the game. The average game length by increasing the points from 4 to 5 is something that we're actually liking right now. Increases the game length on average from kind of a low 10 up to the mid-teens, around 15 to 20 is what we're aiming for. But we also like the fact that it allows for a longer game when the match is even. So a 30-minute game is not really that common, but it can happen, and sometimes 35-40 will come about. And we like this, but we want it to be very infrequent. So the game matches lasting about 15-20 minutes is about right for the 5 points. We will continue to evaluate this number to make sure it feels like it is a good pacing mechanic. And obviously, in comparison to that, making sure we have other mode options available. Those of you fans of the base payload mode, which was a isolated queue where you would just do a pure attack, defend, push with the payload cart, we are looking at that mode by itself and seeing how it can fit into Paladins and how that compares to Capture and Payload. Originally, we had some major feedback that the base siege mode, which was in Paladins before, which allowed you to attack gates to win the game or force you to attack siege engines to defend your own gates to make sure you didn't lose the game. That gameplay isn't what we really wanted. We wanted to make sure that the gameplay was all around attacking players and making sure that it was a team versus team shooter experience and not necessarily being forced to shoot at a gate or a siege engine in order to get victory. We're also looking at increasing the incentives for pushing the payload cart once you successfully captured a point as an attacking team. We're getting some complaints and feedback that there's just not enough to push it there, and sometimes the objective point you get when you finally push it all the way there isn't worth giving the enemy team credits along the way by dying or maybe not being able to successfully push it all the way. So we're looking at options that allows the attacking team to push the cart more easily without having to kind of isolate themselves to the cart, some kind of auto push or something like that. It will not be in this patch, but we're all looking at options for that to make sure that both the attacking and defending teams have the right incentives for that phase of the game mode. We'll also be looking to add in new specialty cards that didn't exist before to help some of the champions that exist now to have different build options. We still want to stick to our original plan of making sure that every champion has distinct builds, not necessarily 2 or 3 weapon builds that all do the same thing. So when you look at characters like Grover, make sure he has a weapon build and maybe an axe throw build and then maybe a vine build or something like that. We're also looking to adjust some of the champions and how they play now. Stuff like the Grok ultimate dealing a large amount of damage, or obviously an issue that we found, which was the drain life triggering multiple times on one target. That's a card for Cassie where her blast shot would trigger a heal. We're adjusting cards like that to make sure that's not as abusable. That'll do it for patch CB24, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and please feel free to send your feedback on forums.paladins.com or, of course, on the Reddit. We're very active in reading those posts and making sure that your feedback is heard, and we also integrate it into the game. And also, thanks for bearing with us as we make kind of major changes to the game. We're hoping to start heading more into a refinement process for Paladins as we start isolating exactly how we want the gameplay to feel. Well, that'll do it for CB24. I'll see you in the realm.